Battling for Independence, Part 2 of the American Revolution, written by Terry Miller Shannon. Introduction. America was not always a country. Over 200 years ago, it was a collection of 13 colonies ruled by Great Britain. Britain began taxing the colonists and enforcing unpopular new laws. The colonists objected, saying they wanted no taxation without representation in British Parliament. Over time, the disagreements between the two groups only increased bad feelings and violence. Britain's King George III tried to gain control over the colonists, but failed. A series of events led to a confrontation on April 19, 1775, between British soldiers and colonists at the towns of Lexington and Concord in Massachusetts. Shots were exchanged on the village green in Lexington. No one knows which side fired first. That first shot became known as the shot heard round the world, signaling the beginning of war between Britain and its 13 colonies. The Second Continental Congress. On May 10, 1775, the Second Continental Congress met at Independence Hall in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The delegates unanimously chose George Washington, one of the delegates from Virginia, and a former officer in the British Army, to command the colony's troops. The Congress voted to call the troops the Continental Army and declared it would be made up of volunteer soldiers from each of the 13 colonies. Washington's job as commander of the Continental Army wasn't going to be easy. Washington had a ragtag group of farmers, carpenters, and blacksmiths with few weapons and little or no training. These soldiers would be fighting against powerful Britain with its well-trained and well-supplied army and navy. He expected to fail, telling Patrick Henry, "From the day I enter upon the command of the American armies, I date my fall and the ruin of my reputation." Although he thought his reputation would be ruined, Washington believed so strongly in the cause of the American independence, he took the challenge as its commander and insisted that he not be paid for his services. Not every colonist wanted to be independent from Britain, so while George Washington headed to Concord and Lexington near Boston to lead his new troops, the Continental Congress continued to try to make amends with Britain's Parliament. The delegates sent a petition to King George III asking him again to grant the colonists rights and to proclaim the colonists as loyal English subjects. King George refused to even read the petition and declared that the colonists had proceeded to open and avowed rebellion. The Patriots take Ticonderoga. On the same day the Second Continental Congress met, the colonist soldiers scored a victory over the British at Fort Ticonderoga. A rough, tough farmer named Ethan Allen and his backwoods friends had formed a group called the Green Mountain Boys. The Congress asked the Green Mountain Boys to capture the British fort on Lake Champlain in New York. Another soldier named Benedict Arnold also was ordered to attack Fort Ticonderoga. Both Arnold and Allen wanted to be the leader of the attack, so they argued all the way to Ticonderoga, but they managed to conquer the fort together on May 10, 1775. The victory gave the Patriots a morale boost. It also served as an announcement the war had indeed begun. Colonists were now forced to take sides, either as loyalists, those who wanted to remain part of Britain, or as patriots, those who wanted independence from Britain. Bunker Hill and Breed's Hill. After the Battle of Lexington, in which the shot heard round the world started the first battle of the American Revolution, the British soldiers led by Major John Pitcairn had retreated to Boston. The colonist soldiers camped outside Boston, gathering forces. Around 16,000 Patriot troops eventually surrounded Boston, cutting off supplies to the British. With Patriot troops surrounding Boston, British General Thomas Gage worried enemy troops might fortify the hills across the Charles River from Boston, Bunker Hill, and Breed's Hill in Charleston. On the night of June 16, 1775, Patriot soldiers dug trenches into Breed's Hill, working all night. By morning, soldiers in trenches covered the hill. The British soldiers moved by ship across the Charles River, with cannons blasting. The Minutemen were at a disadvantage. They weren't trained well and were fighting Britain's professional soldiers. The Patriots also had very little gunpowder. In order to conserve their ammunition, Patriot officers told soldiers to make sure every shot count by waiting until the British were very close before firing. Wait until you see the whites of their eyes. As the British soldiers rushed the hill, the Americans held their fire until the last safe moment. The strategy worked, and many British soldiers died. More British troops landed and attacked, with the Americans continuing to wait and then shoot. Finally, after the Americans ran out of gunpowder and had to retreat, the British captured Breeds Hill and Bunker Hill. The British won control of the two hills at the cost of many British lives. More than 1,000 British soldiers were wounded or killed, while the Patriots lost 441 men. The Patriots gained a big boost in morale even though they lost a battle because they could fight and win a war against professional soldiers. Although most of the action was seen on Breed's Hill, the battle has come to be known as the Battle of Bunker Hill. General George Washington's troops held the British captive in Boston for nearly a year. He also sent forces to invade Canada to prevent the British from landing there and sending forces south into New York. The Patriots captured Montreal, but failed in their attack on Quebec. During the winter, Patriots used cannons they captured from the British to attack British soldiers in Boston. On March 17, 1776, the British soldiers and thousands of colonists loyal to Britain left Boston, leaving Washington's troops to march triumphantly into the city. Declaring independence. Patriot Thomas Paine wrote a pamphlet, Common Sense, in which he declared independence to be the only correct choice for the colonists. His booklet sold 150,000 copies in a few months and swayed many loyalist colonists to the side of independence. In June 1776, the Continental Congress selected a committee to write a statement about the colonists' right to be self-governing. Thomas Jefferson was chosen as the actual writer. The Continental Congress approved the Declaration of Independence on July 4, 1776. Once passed by each of the 13 colonies, the Declaration of Independence created the United States of America. Battling for freedom. There were dark days ahead for the Patriots as they lost battle after battle. A month after the Declaration of Independence was signed, the British, under General William Howe, shipped 30,000 soldiers into New York Harbor. The outnumbered Patriots lost the Battle of Long Island and retreated south across New Jersey to Philadelphia. The British occupied New York City and won a battle in which Patriots surrendered Fort Washington. In October 1776, Patriot Benedict Arnold's gunboats were defeated in Lake Champlain in Canada. However, the Patriots fought so fiercely that the British were concerned. Conquering the rebels might not be as easy as they'd thought. On December 24, 1776, George Washington and his men ferried across the Delaware River to Trenton, New Jersey. The Patriots won a battle there in less than an hour. A few days later, Washington defeated the British at Princeton, New Jersey. These victories rejuvenated the Patriots' morale. Britain retaliated in June 1777 by moving a large army led by General John Burgoyne south from Canada. Burgoyne planned to attack the Hudson River area, cutting off New England and New York from the other colonies. On the way, Burgoyne recaptured Fort Ticonderoga. However, Patriot soldiers stopped Burgoyne's momentum at the Battle of Saratoga in October, with Burgoyne surrendering around 6,000 men. The Battle of Saratoga was a turning point in the war because it proved to France and other European countries that the Patriots might win the war. France joined the fight against its long-standing enemy Great Britain by sending supplies to the Continental Army. Soon after, Spain would declare war on Britain. Supplies grew scarcer for the Continental Army soldiers, often lacked food, clothing, and shelter. The Continental Congress needed allies such as France to help supply the troops. George Washington's troops suffered through a cold and hungry winter at Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, before supplies reached them. In June 1778, after that horrible winter, Washington attacked the British Army, now under the command of General Henry Clinton, at the Battle of Monmouth. Neither side won the fight, which was the last major battle in the northern colonies. Southern battles. British forces captured Savannah, Georgia in September 1778. Then they attacked and captured Charleston, South Carolina in May 1780. They won yet again at Camden, South Carolina in August 1780. Many colonists in the Southern colonies were loyalists. Although Britain was winning, the South, the Patriots, would not give up. The tide of the war started to turn in favor of the Patriots in October when they won a battle at Kings Mountain, South Carolina, in a speedy 65 minutes. They again won battles at Camden and Cowpens. Next, they forced British General Charles Cornwallis north into Virginia. Cornwallis had aided the British victory at Long Island and had taken command of British troops in the South. The Patriots' alliance with the French began to pay off. French soldiers helped hold the British back and fought alongside colonists as part of the troops Washington led into Virginia. The most important battle of the war was about to begin. French ships drove off the British ships sent to rescue Cornwallis at Yorktown, on the coast of Virginia. The French fleet also brought extra soldiers to help the fight on land. The French and Patriot troops moved into Yorktown, surrounding the British army. The British fought for 3 weeks before surrendering on October 19, 1781. The Revolutionary War was over. The Patriots had won their war and were now independent from Britain. Now a group of colonies that was used to being supported by another country had to come together and build a brand new nation.